We are very blessed to have a young lady that has been on the program before, and this is kind of why we want to do this spot, because we're able to get some of the Hollywood great actors and actresses, and this actress who is joining us is Alison Arngrim. Alison has been on Little House on the Prairie, and she wrote a book called Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. Yes. Alison, how you doing?
It's so hard to say my last name. It's Icelandic. I realize most people don't speak that. It's a country that needs to buy a vowel, I always say. But it's Arngrim.
Arngrim. Sorry. I apologize.
I know, it's so weird. It's N as in Nancy, and then M at the end. I always tell people it's Arn, like barn, where you keep the horses, and Grimm, like the brothers Grimm.
Right, the brothers. I get it. Arngrim.
Because it's really weird. There should be another vowel in there. It should be like Arngrim. Yeah. It makes no sense because Icelandic is a weird country. My father's full name was Tor Hudler Marvin Arngrimson.
Whoa.
That's a mouthful. Yeah, that's a mouthful.
And he went into theater, and the first thing they told him when he went into theaters, you're shortening your name. We are so not putting that up on the marquee.
Alison, it is so wonderful to have you back.
Oh, well, thank you.
So tell us, in the world of Alison, what has been going on since we last spoke?
Oh, my God, I am so busy. Well, as you know, I barely had time to do this interview, so I said we're almost going to have to do it in the car, coming back from my other interview. I am doing so much. I have so much going on this month and this year, because, when people found out, yes, I'll do a web series, they all called. So I did absolutely everything. There's a show called Life Interrupted. And Mason Reese, you guys know Mason Reese, right? He's the Underwood Deviled Ham kid, now he's a grown-up guy. I play his ex-wife, and I've left him for a woman.
Oh, my.
But not just any woman. It's Erin Murphy, who played Tabitha on Bewitched.
Right.
She's gorgeous. A lot of people would leave their husbands and wives for this woman, I'm telling you. So I'm married to her, and then Dawn Wells, who's Marianne on Gilligan's Island, plays my mother, and Michael Leonard from the Waltons, that's what plays Erin's mother to my mother-in-law. So this insane cast of people were in the show, and now it's become a web series. It's on YouTube. It's won all these awards and festivals, and now get this, they sent it in for Emmy consideration. Because there's a comedy short form. You can send in your web series and your comedy short to Emmy consideration. And now I'm a member of the TV Academy. I go to the page, and there's this big page that says, for your consideration, and there's my picture.
Wow. Oh, wow. Very impressive. Dawn Wells has been on our program a couple of times before.
She is amazing.
Yeah. She really is, when you think about it. She came from Nevada. She was, I think, a Miss Nevada back in 1959.
Miss Nevada.
Yeah.
She's still gorgeous.
Yeah, she really is. And it's great that you're able to work with these legends and come together for a new project and keep your careers going and, and just kind of invigorating things and just, really expanding your abilities.
Well, exactly. And, I know all these people. That's what's so crazy is I actually, I'm friends with all these people. And so it was just when he said, do you want to work with all these people? I was like, oh, my God, this is perfect. So we're doing this. I'm doing that one. And then I just did a thing called Living on a Prairie that I shot in New York. And it's hilarious. It's about a woman who is, so obsessed. And the woman who wrote it, she's almost like that. Her name's Pamela Bob. She's an actress on Broadway. She does have a husband and a life and a career. But this is sort of the crazier version of her. And I play her therapist.
Ah. Therapist.
And try to talk her into having a real life because she's watching too much Little House on the Prairie. It's kind of hilarious. She's getting several people from Little House, but they appear, and her character, even though she's obsessed with the show, it sort of never dawns on her that she's talking to someone from Little House on the Prairie. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, you were on the show. You were a very big part of the show, and then, it came full circle for you.
So it's wonderfully bananas. I'm doing all these things, and there's even a thing called Mephisto Box. It's a horror thing. I always wanted to do horror, and I'm finally doing a horror web series. And then I have all the live stuff still going on. I'm still doing my stand-up act, my one-woman show everywhere. Heading out to France again in September.
Wow, France. That's the French really love the American humor.
They do, and they really love La Petite Maison. They love Little House on the Prairie. The French love Little House on the Prairie almost more than Americans do. It's crazy.
I've watched Little House on the Prairie, and, growing up, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't my favorite show. But
it's a girl show. It's such a girl show.
Yeah, it is. But when you went into that show, you worked with some pretty talented people. And
right.
What was the most important thing that they taught you as a person and as an actress?
It's absolutely about the fans. I know that was the thing that Michael stressed, and it was about the viewers. Because with Little House, we weren't popular in Hollywood. People in LA and New York in the industry didn't really watch Little House. We were opposite Rhoda and Phyllis at one point, and these were the hot shows with the critics, with the industry. Little House was the people's show. The fans all watched it. And to this day, you go out, yes, people in LA and New York, that's kind of what like Pamela Bob's Living on the Prairie is about, is people in New York don't want to admit that they all watch Little House on the Prairie. It's a terrible secret for them. Yeah. But you get out of LA and New York, and everybody watches Little House on the Prairie. And it was the case at the time. That's why we weren't a big Emmy show. We didn't win a bunch of Emmys, whereas a lot of the shows in the other networks did. And we're very much about the viewers. And Michael said, it's the fans. You don't work for me. You don't work for NBC. You work for the fans. They stop watching. It's all over. And it is. It's absolutely about your fans and your viewers. And there are people who, as actors, are so concerned about the casting directors and the directors and the producers and the industry, they forget about the people actually buying tickets to the movie and tuning into the television show and buying their books. And then they kind of wonder why things aren't happening. It's like, because that's who it's about. And yes, it's good to be known in the industry and know people and all who you know, but if none of the people out there care that you're making a show, then it doesn't matter who produces you.
Yeah. What is the most common thing a fan will say to you at a convention nowadays?
I hate you. At least they say, I hated you. I hated you. And then they'll sort of apologize. Their urge to, slap me upside the head is still there. But they're adults now, and they realize it's not real. It's a TV show. So they feel like they blurt. I hated you. I just wanted to get you. And then they go, oh God, I'm so sorry. I mean, yes, you did a really good job on the show, haha. And you can tell they're restraining themselves. I had one woman did not restrain herself. She actually walked in the autograph show, walks up to the table. She doesn't say hello. She doesn't say good morning. She doesn't ask for an autograph. She looks at me, goes red in the face, and says, I forgive you, and stomps out of the room.
That's funny. Wow.
I was absolved at the LA County Fair. People are absolutely, and then they want to know, oh my God, what was it like to work with these people? The big one is, do you still talk to people from the show? And the answer is yes, constantly. This year I'm going to be in DeSmet, South Dakota in July. They're having the 150th anniversary. It's Laura Ingalls Wilder's birthday. It's her 150th birthday this year. And they're having a celebration, so I'm going to be there, although I think that's kind of wrong. Because if Laura Ingalls Wilder was alive, she would not be inviting Nellie Olson to her birthday party.
No, that definitely would not have happened.
I don't think they've thought this through completely. But they're having me there, and also Dean Butler, who was Almanzo on the show. So we go to events. I was just at a thing. We were at the Cherry Blossom Festival in Marshfield, Missouri, near Mansfield. And Dean Butler was there, who's Almanzo. Charlotte Stewart was there, who's Miss Beadle. Yeah. She's in the Living on a Prairie thing. Cool. We do all these events together all the time. And I just got invited to some party by Karen Grassley, played Ma. We email each other, we text each other, we Instagram and Twitter each other. We're constantly talking to each other, and we're always doing events together. We're always going. I was online emailing this morning with Charlotte Stewart. We're always going, are you going to this one? Have you heard about this one? I'm going to a concert next week with Rachel Greenbush, who is Baby Carrie. Baby Carrie and her husband, and my husband and I are going out.
Nice. I noticed on your website you have a Alisons Fan Club.
Yes.
How do people join that?
Really easy. If you can click on that. If you go to Loose Gravel Prod at AOL, because Loose Gravel Productions, LOOSE, Loose Gravel, GRAVEL, Loose Gravel Prod, BROD, at AOL, it's AOL. You can get on the Nellie newsletter on the mailing list, and once a month you will get a newsletter in your email box from me. My husband writes it, and you'll get the Saga of Sock Monkey. You'll get Prairie tidbits. You'll get updates on what the entire cast is doing, plus, of course, my complete schedule of where I'm going to be and whatnot.
I get that.
Yeah, Cindy gets
you get that? You're on
on your list. Yep.
Okay, cool. It's great, right?
It is hilarious. I mean, how many sagas are you going to write for Sock Monkey?
Don't look at me. My husband's writing them. He's having this weird, crazy stream of consciousness, insane thing about this secret agent monkey. He's Agent Sock Monkey, Monkey of Mystery. He's kind of like if a monkey was Jason Bourne or James Bond. It's that kind of thing.
The sock monkey is like a secret agent?
He is. He's a secret agent.
Kind of like Secret Squirrel or something.
You were just reading, and he's like in Paris, and then he's on a plane, and he's meeting with all these mysterious people in the middle of the night. Yeah.
It's hysterical.
Wow.
And you call everybody bonnet heads.
Bonnet heads. You're all bonnet heads. Big Prairie fans, we call them bonnet heads.
Yeah.
And in fact, my website now is bonnetheads.com.
Yeah.
See, she knows.
Yeah.
And so you know that on June 3rd, Saturday night, I'm emceeing a show with the Standells and Rick Derringer.
The Standells? Really?
Standells!
He loves the Standells.
Oh,
The
my
Standells
God.
and Rick Derringer, hang on, Sloopy, hang on.
Oh,
Rick
H.I.O.
Derringer,
And the
yes.
McCoys, yes.
Right. I mean, the
Right.
McCoys are
It's
fantastic.
the most bananas thing. I got just one of those left field phone calls. Hey, do you want to come do this? And I'm like, what, the Standells? You know, exactly. I had the same reaction. Get out of here. And it's June 3rd, and it's at the Palace Theater in downtown L.A. on Broadway. And it's just absolutely huge. I just actually had to put this up on my page earlier today going, oh, my God, there's all this stuff going on. And so it's Rick Derringer, it's the Standells. There's another band, too, called Play With Fire. They're great, young kids. They're really good.
Okay.
And it's only $25, and it's at the Palace Theater on South Broadway in Los Angeles. You can go to Eventbrite and get tickets. Go to my Facebook page or check your newsletter. There's like a link in there.
Okay.
So absolutely, go check this out. And if you Google it or go to Eventbrite, it's on there. It's all over Facebook. But indeed, first time since like 1966, the Standells and Rick Derringer together, and with Nellie Olson, live on stage.
That is outstanding. And now, Rick Derringer, you could ask him about Burt Burns.
Okay.
Because he'll know exactly. They were on a label called Bang Records, and
Bang Records,
and Burt Burns was the man behind that, and they signed the McCoys, and the reason they were called the McCoys is because the band battled back and forth like the Hatfields and McCoys, so they call them not the Hatfields, but they call them the McCoys instead. That's how they got their name.
Hatfields, yeah.
So it's very interesting, and he. I'd love someday to be able to speak with him about that. That would be interesting. But, you're going to be able to work with some legends, and, of course, you are the central figure in all this.
Well, thank you. But it's a bunch of cool people, and as one that Baby Carrie's coming. It's going to be Nellie Olson and Baby Carrie will be hanging out backstage with Standells, and it's like, that's actually a thing that's happening in this universe. It's like totally crazy. So I've been telling everyone, come to that. On the 24th, if anybody's in the LA area, again, if you're in the LA area, on the 24th of June, I'm going to be over at the Women's Club of Hollywood, which is right on La Brea in the heart of Hollywood, and I'll be there at 1:30. It's this wonderful thing I'm doing, this whole project called the Indomitable Spirit. And we have all these guest speakers, people who've overcome unbelievable odds. People who had cancer, AIDS, suffered terrible poverty, domestic violence, and have just overcome everything to lead these incredible, happy lives. And Jody Vaclav and Steve Peters are speaking, and they're both a riot, and both were told years ago, oh, no, you're going to die. You won't be here anymore. No, they're still here. And I'll be moderating the panel and selling my book, and we'll all be there. But it's on the 24th in Hollywood at the Women's Club of Hollywood at 1:30. And again, as I said, you go to my Facebook page or go to bonnetheads.com. Please come. Or you can even now go to theindomitablespirit.com and theindomitablespirit.com. So you can get tickets, and it's only $20, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to do a whole series of them. It's going to be happening again and again. We want people to actually sign up for the mailing list.
Alison, I got a couple of questions. What do you speak with Melissa Gilbert at all anymore?
I text and Instagram with her because she ran away to Michigan. Yeah. She's like hiding out in the forest in Michigan. Did you notice? It was really weird. She went to Michigan. She married Timothy Busfield. Do you remember Timothy Busfield was on 30-something and the West Wing and all that?
Yeah.
She married Timothy Busfield. Go figure.
Yeah.
And they ran away to Michigan, and they had this cute little house on a lake. It was a very little house in the prairie. It was this adorable little Victorian house on a pond, like by the shores of Silver Lake. And she was in town. And then she decided that wasn't removed from everything enough. And she moved to this place. I swear, it looks like a log cabin. I mean, it's a real house. It's all tricked out and has Wi-Fi. But she has what looks like Little House in the Big Woods, a log cabin in the forest in Michigan near Lansing with Timothy Busfield.
Interesting. Wow.
But she still pops up on some, he directs, so she said, hey, I can live in Michigan, and I'm still getting work. So she's popping up on TV movies and things, but she's all over Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. She's like the queen of Instagram.
Interesting. That's good to hear that. Alison, I want you to share with us some of the maybe the comedy routine that you do in the nightclubs and the parties and things.
What is this show rated?
We're in safe harbor. You can drop an F-bomb.
Yeah. Well, let's not go that far.
No, but you
Cindy.
can without a problem.
Okay. Well, no, I talk about, that's the thing, is I do talk about being a crazy ex-child star and, the sort of stigma of it, that, people think that we're all completely mad. And,
right.
as I say, I am one of the few screwed-up ex-child stars you meet who hasn't posed for Playboy, been to Betty Ford, shot my dealer, or held up a video store. And,
Alison,
or as I like to say, cast a little house, no arrests, no convictions.
Good. Hold that thought 1 second. Portions of the following broadcast may be objectionable to certain members of the listening audience. Therefore, WCSB advises listener discretion. I'm sorry, Alison. Go right ahead.
No,
I tell you, that's the thing. And I talk about the fact that people ask me questions, but they keep asking me the same questions over and over again. Were you really a bitch? Was that really your hair? What was Michael Landon really like? Are you and Melissa Gilbert really friends? Where'd you film the show? What's your favorite episode? How much did you get paid? Do you still get residuals? Is Albert gay? And what the hell is wrong with Baby Carrie? She knows. She's a bonnet head. She's dying. Baby Carrie, and I'm friends with Rachel, which is so great. Baby Carrie, just could not talk on that show.
I got a kick out of the fact that her mom put the wrong shoes on her, and that's why we watch her
right?
fall down every
You
week.
read the book. You read the book. So the
cover to cover.
Everyone's like, why did Baby Carrie fall? What is wrong with Baby Carrie? Baby Carrie's like that, and they act like they understand her, like she's Cousin It on the Addams Family. And then
Cousin It, yeah.
She's yes, Carrie. And then what happened? She can talk now. She can totally talk now. But it's the nuttiest thing, and then this child keeps falling down, and she finally told me what happened. And as I talked about in the book, there were twins. It was Robin and Rachel, and they had to sort of get a fresh twin when one of them would get tired. So one of them was taking a nap, and it was time to change out. Well, no, she's tired. We got to have the other girl, and it's time to do the running down the hill, big opening credit scene. And her mom scrambled and grabbed the kid and put the shoes on and said, "Here." She put the shoes, and there was those little hard-soled boots on the wrong feet.
Oh. Yes.
And the kid, she's like 4. She doesn't know.
Right.
So she just hauls up to okay, and takes off running full out on that hill and completely face plants right on national television. And they leave it in, and that's the worst part. She gets up going, I'm sorry. And Michael was in hysterics, and they went, well, what do we do? Well, we leave this in. And now for the rest of this woman's life, poor Robin and Rachel, for the rest of their lives, there they are, splat, face down on television.
That's unbelievable. Wow. And, the other thing that I remember is after Little House, you were on Fantasy Island, and you got to work with Ricardo Montalban.
I did. I got to work. And, he was really nice. Hervé Villachez, I always say, that was like a one-man walking sexual harassment lawsuit, I got to tell you. Hervé dealt in volume. He figured if he just asked every single person he saw to have sex with him, someone would have to say yes eventually. A little disconcerting, though, if you were a girl, because I was like 19 and running around in a swimsuit and spike heels all day. It was a little rough. But Ricardo Montalban he was like everything you would want him to be. It was like, welcome to Fantasy Island. It's a weird episode. It's one of the cult classic bizarre episodes because on Fantasy Island, I play a hooker.
No wonder you wanted to.
Eve Plum, who is Jan Brady, plays my mother.
Mom, that's on YouTube.
And I know we're the same age. It's really wrong. But it's that she's kind of the star of the thing. She goes to Fantasy Island, and they've told her she has some mysterious TV disease where she's not going to live to see her daughter grow up. So Ricardo Montalban, it's kind of Back to the Future, Quantum Leap. He takes her into the future. And she sees that her daughter has run away from home and become a spandex-clad hooker strutting the boulevard.
That's unbelievable, really.
I went back. I was just watching it the other day. I really had the hooker walk down. That's a little alarming that I did that well.
Alison, what was the hooker walk?
Well, the trick with the hooker walk, people who've never really watched a hooker walk or just seen the movies or have never talked to someone who's had to do that sort of thing in their lives, they assume that it's sort of an exaggerated, sexy walk. But no, it's a very sort of deliberate meandering.
Meandering.
Did you have to practice that or what?
If you're a real life sex worker prostitute, you don't have to do a sexy walk.
Yeah.
People already are coming over to buy what you got. They know you're a hooker. They see you now for the girl. You don't have to go, yoo-hoo, I'm a hooker. They know you're a hooker. If the men are driving by and you're in that neighborhood, they already know you're a hooker. So you don't really have to do much. What you have to do is keep walking so that you do not get arrested for loitering.
Oh.
If you stand still on the corner, the police may come by and go, okay, you're blatantly a hooker, and you're standing still, and you'll get arrested. So you want to keep legally moving. I was walking over there. I was totally on my way home. So you need to be moving. The other thing is to create some sense of movement so the passers-by in potential customers in cars, especially if there's a lot of other hookers around, you will catch their eye. But it's only a slight movement. It's more subtle. It's not like va-va-va-boom because they're already in the mood. You don't need to put anybody in the mood. If they're looking to go buy a hooker on a corner, they're already in the mood. You don't need. It's the idea is this sort of deliberate stop, wait, walk. Maybe 5, 6 steps, like I might be going somewhere but not very far, and then stop and turn and slowly walk back the 5 steps. It's sort of like really bored modeling.
Wow. No.
And there's a sort of a bored, deliberate yet vague quality to it. It's hard to capture, but I was amazed that when I now, in retrospect, knowing way more about people who are in that line of work, I saw that one went, wow, that's the walk. Damn, I nailed that.
So
that is hooker walk.
When you first started doing this, for the director, did they say, man, you're good?
Well, they did. It was the thing that they brought in, and I kept thinking they were going to say, oh, no, don't do that. No, that's not quite it. Could you do that? But we shot the scene where I'm rolling down the street and my pimp grabs me, and they were like, yeah, cut print. That was perfect. Thank you. I was like, I went in one take. What am I doing right? I guess that's the thing. I mean, with the same thing with Nellie Olson. I mean, I'm not actually a horrible, mean, terrible person who teases, handicapped children and stutterers. I'm actually a relatively nice person in my day-to-day life. But when they turned on the camera, I just kind of went into this zone, and I think I did that with Fantasy Island. Katie Kurtzman, great actress. You should have her on. God, she was on Little House. She was on Dynasty. She was on everything. She played the little girl on that episode of Little House who stutters.
Oh, yeah.
The music box episode, there's a club, and Laura's befriended this poor girl who stutters, and I say she can be in the club, but I have a password, which somehow miraculously is Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, which is not a freaking password, okay, people? That does not make any sense, right. But I make the stuttering girl, she's crying and sobbing, and I'm like, I can't hear you, and it was just awful, and I hate me when I watch that one. But shockingly, she and I are still friends to this day, and we were doing a radio show together, and she said, yeah, we were all really good little actors on the show. They had so many good kid actors and kids who'd really trained and really worked hard. She said, oh, no, you just became a different person. That was like a whole other thing. That was like some kind of weird split personality thing. And I said, you're kidding. She said, oh, no. And she was talking about all the stuff she did as a kid actor and how she did the stuttering. And she said, no, they said action and you became somebody else.
Huh.
And I said, really? She said, yeah, because it was really weird, because as soon as they said cut, you went back to you, and you were talking about, like, okay, what are we doing for lunch? Should we hang out in a dressing room? Who wants to play cards? We were talking about making plans, and now that. Are there any fudgesicles left? You read the book. You read how we always ran out of fudgesicles.
Yes.
So I was having a normal conversation. She said I was very friendly and one of the nicest people she'd worked with. We were chatting, and then it's like, oh, okay, we have to. She said, and then it was like somebody threw a switch, and I was this other person. Who was completely horrible and tormenting her till she cried.
Alison.
And she said, it was really weird. She said, you just turned into somebody else.
Huh.
Did you ever ask the director, and say that, man, I really don't like this particular part of the script. Are we able to maybe alter that in any way, or did you just take what you had and run with it? We
did have some leeway on Little House, especially after, we've been going for a while, and we've all kind of gotten to the rhythm, and Michael knew everybody. He said, I don't know, what about this? It was like, oh, yeah, okay. And so we did, we could do that. But with Nellie, I don't know. There was something there. It just clicked. I mean, when I started doing it, I mean, it was the audition. I got the audition just like they sent everybody home. I mean, I went in and I sat there reading the sides in the lobby with my father, and I said, Dad, this is not a normal part. This girl's a total bitch. And he said, what are you talking about? And I read it for him. He starts laughing. He goes, don't change a thing. Don't touch it. You just go in. You just read it like that. And I go in, and there's Michael Land and Kate McCrae. And I read it, and they're in hysterics. They're like sobbing. And they said, could you do it again? I said, what do you want me to change? I said, nothing. Just read the thing about the house again. And that was it. I was hired on the spot. So it's kind of like when I read about Sir Anthony Hopkins when he got the role of Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
I mean, not dissimilar, too, because playing, like, insanely horrible people. But when he got the script for Silence of the Lambs, which, people turned that down. Do you know, a ton of people were approached for the role of Hannibal Lecter and for Clarice Starling, and half the town said, oh, no, I don't know that. That won't go any... Oh, yeah, Silence of the Lambs, that won't be a hit or win any Oscars. So many people turned that movie down. And it got to Anthony Hopkins, and he read it, and he just talked about that when he read it, he just sort of froze from it, had to put it down and take several deep breaths, because he's like, I got to do this. He saw it immediately, could see exactly who he was supposed to be and what he was supposed to do. And when the one changes, he called his agent and said, look, just get it for me. I know we got to ask for a bunch of money, but just make it happen. I'll do it. And then when he was doing it, the one change he had with the director, he talked about, can I have my hair, like, just slicked back? And he said, yeah. And then the scene when she first met, he goes, can I be standing? Well, yeah, I guess you could be standing. And he said, I just knew. I just read it, and I knew how Hannibal Lecter would say that and how he would be standing and what he would be doing and what he would be wearing and what he looked like.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And sometimes that happens. Not very often. And I'm telling you, something happened when I read Nellie Dalton that I went, I don't know why, but I know exactly what this girl sounds like and why she does everything she does and what she does and how she stands and how she sits.
What do you think?
Apparently I know how a hooker walks. Yeah. I don't know why. This is a weird instinct thing that I apparently have.
Well, you obviously have nailed it. I mean, you were able to put your hand on the pulse and just kind of create that character. I mean,
you should see this thing, Life Interrupted. I kiss Aaron Murphy.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That
you think I've been a lesbian all my life?
Well, Alison, there's different strokes for different folks.
I'm telling you, absolutely did the same. You betcha. She's my wife. I hold her hand. You'd think we'd been married for years. Yep.
That's something. Alison, is there a role that you really want to tackle that is in the back of your mind? Go, if I ever was offered this, I would really jump at it.
I wanted to play. I was disappointed that I didn't get old enough in time to play Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians.
Play it in the remake.
I like that movie. I like that one. Okay. I should put this out there. Maybe they'll call. I don't know. It's one of those things. Okay. There is a book, and it was a huge hit, and they keep saying they're going to make it. This book has been optioned to be a movie like 50 frickin' times. I remember reading this book as a teenager, and it's so long ago, they were optioning it and talking about John Belushi being the lead guy in it. That's how long this has been bouncing around Hollywood, and they still haven't made the damn thing. Huh. And every few years, it was John Candy was going to be. That's how long this has been going, and it's bouncing around. Every few years, it comes up, and they say so and so is going to direct, and they're going to cast so and so, and it doesn't get made. They freak out. So the book is called Confederacy of Dunces.
Oh.
And if you haven't read it, look it up. It was a big hit. It's one of the funniest things I read. I near died. It's the most insane story, and I don't know why no one has made it. It's a very bizarre story. The part of the bar owner, the evil bar owner. Uh-huh. I read that book. I was a teenager. Said I want to play the evil bar owner. I was about 25, 30 years too young to play the evil bar owner, and I wanted to play her.
Huh. Why was that?
Oh, she's a fabulous character. The book is full of fabulous characters, but she jumped off the page. So if somebody ever actually gets around to making Confederacy Dunces before I'm in like a freaking wheelchair and have to play the mother, I would like to play the evil bar owner.
I'd like to see that. I think you would play that very well. I just think that you're able to transform who you are on the radio with me right now into you're almost like a chameleon.
That's what, and she's a really terrible person. I mean, if you read the whole book, you kind of go, oh, wait, she's like kind of a big criminal and a terrible, terrible person. I'm like, yep, I want to play her.
Well, I mean, every actor and actress has that feeling and that desire to play that certain role, Your comedy, though, I mean, you're also a comedian.
Yeah, that's funny. It's just weird. I know. Are villains, is everybody play villain funny? I don't know. I try.
No, not everybody.
Probably not. So, literally, the old joke is I took up stand-up comedy because I couldn't sing or dance. It was the 70s. Everybody was on a show that you would go in the talk shows and you would sing or you would dance or then you'd have to make a sandwich or something. If you didn't do that, you have to cook something. And I didn't know what to do, but my dad was a manager. Talked about that. My father managed all those famous people, and he was managing comedians. And there's a group called the Village Idiots, wonderful people.
Yeah.
And Peter Jurasik was in there, and a whole bunch of people. Jan Fisher, who wrote the movie The Lost Boys. So I was hanging out at clubs, and this one comic, he was kind of doing an audience participation thing and egging us on, but I sort of heckled him slightly. And he did the famous last words of, if you think this is so easy, you should come up and try it. And it's very dangerous to dare me because I was like 15, and that was it. I met with the Village Idiots and we put together an act, and I've been doing it ever since.
Can you share that with us?
I don't know. There was something there. It was an experiment, but then it clicked. Instead of like trying it out and going, "Wow, this is terrible. I shouldn't do this again," I tried it out and it was a smash, and I wound up performing 4 nights a week.
Alison, can you give us a little excerpt from maybe your stand-up routine? Almost pretend that we're in the audience right now.
Well, I always explain to people, because I have a Q&A section of my show, and they hand in lovely little cards that say, "Ask Alison anything." And so I explained to them, yes, I will be answering your questions, but starting right now with the most important question, why am I a bitch? I will tell you why I'm a bitch. Do people have any idea the shit I have had to put up with? Do you know what it means to be Nellie Dalton? It means that somebody somewhere, at least once a day, has called me a bitch to my face every single day since I was 11 years old.
Goodness.
It's only the truth. I mean, that's basically as my show. People say, how do you write your show? I say, what? Write my show? My show writes itself.
Yeah, it's nice when you can have that kind of material at your disposal.
I like when you talked about how you initially were only doing like a half hour or something, and they told you had to do 2 hours one night.
Right, you were reading the book. It's true. I mean, in LA comics, I mean, my God, 20 minutes is an incredibly long time. 15, people get up and do 8-minute sets, and they said, well, you have to do an hour and a half. I said, who in the bloody hell is an hour and a half material? I don't have an hour and a half. I'm an LA comic. And they also said, could you be dirtier, because you're kind of following, Joan Rivers is playing this place, and you'll be coming in like a couple nights after her, and she curses the air blue, that lady. So they said, could you maybe, be... I'm like, oh, dear. Well, I was vaguely risque, but I really didn't swear much. So I said, well, I guess I'll start. So I said I swear in real life. I just didn't swear much on stage. And so I wrote this whole thing, and like I said, all true stories. All very much what was really going on with me, what was really happening, telling them the truth. And absolutely, in telling stories, if there's some story, I shouldn't tell that one on stage. That's too naughty or risque a story. Oh, guess it's going in. That'll be the opening bit. And then, of course, adding a Q&A, because I knew they wanted to ask me stuff. And with the Q&A, I will say absolutely anything. People ask me the most insane questions, and I don't care. It's just like, great.
Well, give me an example of that.
Ask me anything.
Give me an example of the most risque or the most bizarre question you've ever...
Oh, my word. There's a question, I'm not on the air. They alluded to questioning me as to which character in Little House on the Prairie I would perform a certain sex act with.
Oh, no.
The worst part was it was multiple choice. They listed, A, Miss Beadle, B.
Miss Beadle?
Miss Beadle?
Wow.
I was just really demented. And that's kind of thing. I mean, I have gotten the have you had sex with Michael Landon? I'm like, hi, I was 12, you perverts. No, thank you.
She's doing the hooker walk.
Some of them are just like in the episode of the Winnetka Warriors in the football game when this guy did, and they're like Trekkies. It's like they're talking about real minutia of specific episodes. really crazy stuff. You're kind of like, okay, you've been watching the DVDs a little too closely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, people get into your show, and it's like they become almost obsessed with it.
They do. I mean, that's why, at one point we're trying to figure out, what do we call the fans? Because Trekkies have Trekkies. We call them Housies. But then somehow Bonnet Heads popped up. I called it Bonnet, and that was it. It stuck, and they've been Bonnet Heads ever since.
Or they could be Prairie Maniacs.
Prairie Maniacs, that's very good. Housies is good, that's good. And they are there. I mean, some people are normal. They just really dig Little House. Some people dig it a lot. I mean, people do show up not only at, like, the Prairie sites, when they go to the historical sites, like, DeSmet, South Dakota, and all the Prairie places, Walnut Grove. They'll come dressed in 1800s gear and bonnets, and the little kids in bonnets. But I've had people show up at nightclubs in New York in calico dresses and bonnets, carrying the Little House lunchbox as an evening bag.
Oh, no.
That's a little much for me. I mean,
That's taking it a little far.
Well, Ray, they have people that do that here in Ohio. They're called Amish,
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, is this person a fan or are they just Mennonite? I can't tell from here.
That's great.
I'm a city girl. Where are you guys again in Ohio?
We're in Cleveland.
Yeah,
you're in Cleveland. Good old Cleveland.
Coming?
Yeah, because that's where we talked about this. My husband's from Akron originally.
Go Cavs.
Yes, we're waiting. Every time I see Bob mention you going somewhere for the first time, I'm like, when you coming to Cleveland?
Right? We do need, and I have so many fans in Ohio, and then I have people I know in Ohio, so I desperately do need to come down there.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you definitely do. Getting back to Little House, Nellie Dalton. You also had I think near the end you changed your last name.
Well, I got married.
I know, but sometimes people don't do that.
Well, in the 1800s, I suppose it just became Nellie Dalton. I mean, you wouldn't even hyphenate in 82 or whatever the heck it was by then. In real life, I kept Arngrim. But indeed, so Nellie got married. Now, it's so amazing because in the books, Nellie only gets up to like teenage years. We have no idea what happened to Nellie after like 17. We don't know.
Oh.
And in real life, the real Nellie, her name was Nellie Owens. It's one of the few names. Laura changed a couple names. I think she was still scared Nellie was going to come after her and kick her ass when she read the book, so she totally changed it. So she made her Nellie Olson. And Nels and Harriet were actually William and Margaret Owens. And there was a Willie, and she had a brother named Willie. And she's buried in Forest Grove, Oregon, just outside Portland. Go up to Portland, go to Forest Grove, beautiful cemetery, and there's William Owens and little Willie Owens, and, little he's grown up, and Nellie Owens Curry, because she did get married to a guy named Curry, Kirry, and so there's people who are descendants of the Curry family who are actually the great-grandchildren of Nellie Olson. But on the show, they married her off because Michael Landon got this insane idea, which is how most of the things on Little House happen. Michael got an insane idea in the middle of the night. Michael decided Nellie should get married, and he said she's going to marry a short Jewish guy who doesn't take any crap. And I'm like, okay, this is all very interesting. And so we got the wonderful, brilliant Steve Tracy, who played Percival, who then in another episode, when his parents show up, reveals that his real name is Isaac Cohen, and he changed it to Percival Dalton for, business purposes. So technically I become Nellie Cohen, but there you go.
That's amazing.
It was so bananas because Michael goes on The Tonight Show and he actually explained to people that he wrote it because it was all about his parents. His father was short and Jewish. His mother was tall and blonde and not Jewish. The parents fought about it like mad. It was a whole Christian-Jewish inter-religious marriage, and they fought terribly and put Michael in the middle. And his real name was Eugene Orowitz.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was apparently quite traumatic for him. So he decided to have this short Jewish guy and this tall, blonde, very domineering woman, except the guy stands up to her, which his father apparently didn't. So basically, Michael's having therapy. He's doing his psychotherapy by writing the show. And we're playing out his personal psychodrama about his parents on Little House on the Prairie. And I'm like, oh, great, I'm his mom. And I'm like 18 when this happened.
Well, you matured quickly.
Yeah. Apparently, I reminded, and I thought, well, this would explain, because people say, Michael was always very nice to you, He was a real taskmaster, and most people loved him, but he could give some people a hard time. Did he ever give you any trouble? I go, God, no, not for a minute. I never gave me any trouble. Nice to me. Always terribly respectful and complimentary. Oh, right. I reminded him of his mother. The poor man was probably terrified of me the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to mention, some notable guest stars that were on Little House on the Prairie. A few people that caught my eye. One of them was an uncredited actor, a student named Sean Penn.
Yes, indeed. Sean Penn was an extra on Little House on the Prairie.
Really?
What year was that?
His dad was directing.
Oh, makes sense.
His dad was a big director, and so his dad was directing. It's the Tinker Jones, the Voice of Tinker Jones episode, where the guy who's the deaf mute and makes all the stuff comes to the town, and they decide to make a bell for the church, and the Tinker's going to make a bell, and all the kids donate their stuff, and we have this big fake fire, big cauldron where we're melting stuff. That was not real. There were some people going, "Where's the bell?" I'm going, "There is no bell." "No, we saw you make the bell." The bell was made of paper mache, and when Miss Beadle rang it, it went clunk, 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 clunk.
Wow.
There is no bell. But what about the cauldron with the melting it? Okay, it was a tank of liquid plastic with a tube in it that made it bubble like it was molten metal.
Nice.
And we dumped the metal toys in it. And then when they said cut, they fished them out and rinsed them off, and we did it again.
Boy, that's an unbelievable story. And I also know Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash were on...
Yes, Johnny Cash. I wish I'd been in the episode with Johnny Cash. That would have been good. But Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash, and he played a villain. He was kind of a bad guy on it. It was kind of a trip.
Johnny did a lot of
Leo
bad guys.
Penn, that's Sean Penn's dad. Leo Penn, the director.
Okay.
And very, very big deal. And so he directed an episode, and so Sean was there. And actually, I always credit Sean Penn with saving my job. I owe him a great debt. It was the craziest thing. And I ran into him like a million years later and said, "Thank you, by the way." Sean Penn is a teenage boy. He's just a couple of years older than me. It was so hot when we were filming. It was deadly hot. Now, I had already fainted about 3 or 4 times by the time we were doing this episode. I passed out in the heat. It was like 106 degrees in Simi Valley, and then we had reflector boards and the lights, because this is pre-digital. So we had the big, huge 10K blazing hot lights. And it's a million degrees in Simi Valley in the summer anyway. So we're in the sun with lights as well. Even though we're out in the sun, they're turning on lights. So the temperature, if it was over 100 degrees already, the temperature in the little area where you were standing where we're filming could be as high as 120 degrees. So it got so hot, I would fall over. I fainted several times, and I just don't do well in the heat. And they revived me, and they kept kind of thinking that I was some kind of a wimp, like maybe I wasn't up to it. And then we're shooting Tinker Jones, and Sean Penn goes down like a sack of potatoes, just bam, just out. His knees went out from under him. He just blacked right out. He didn't. When I fainted, I said, "Excuse me, I don't feel well. I think I'm going to faint," and fell over. Sean Penn was standing there, and we turned around and went, "Hey, Sean, oh, where'd he go?" And he was out.
Wow.
And like he was dead. I mean, I woke up. He was like, I don't know. He didn't come back. They couldn't even revive him to come back later in the afternoon. And he just passed right out from the heat. And later his dad wasn't doing so hot with the heat either. And they went, okay, the big teenage boy just fell over unconscious. The director's ready to pass out. Maybe it's not the little girl. Maybe it's not just her.
Yeah.
And when he fainted, that's when they started realizing it might be hot. And later, Claxton, the director, passed out at one point. And so when grown men started passing out, they kind of figured out maybe I was not making it up. It's not just me. It's really that hot. But it was Sean who was the first person to pass out, where they said, well, that's a big, tall teenage boy. So he just blacked right out, and he didn't even come back as quickly as she did from it. So maybe the 12-year-old girl is not a wuss.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Layers of clothes.
It wears you down, that's for sure. Yeah. Alison, would you be up for taking a few phone calls?
Oh, do you have that on here? Yes, you could do that.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, our telephone number to talk to Alison is 216-687-3515. Alison, we'll take a little public service announcement break, and we'll try to get some calls lined up for you.
What time is it there?
It is almost midnight.
Wow. Okay.
All right, we will return shortly.
Who's up at midnight in Cleveland? Oh, dear. What are we going to get?
Okay, we're back live. And our telephone number, once again, Alison, we'll probably go another 10 minutes or so. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine then. But yes, I'm dying to know who's up at this hour running around Cleveland is going to call into the show.
Yeah,
I'm scared already.
You can call in. We always have to say you can call in. It's 216-687-3515. And if you'd like to talk to Alison, she would be more than happy to talk to you. And she's been on for the last hour, and we're very grateful to have you.
Yakking away, just yakking away like there's no more.
Oh, this is great, though. Just all the stories that you've told us about, Hollywood, and just now, Alison, tell me, what actor that you've never played against, that if you could play against any particular actor in any scene, either a romantic scene or a comedy scene or anything, what actor would you most like to be with?
Okay, it's a tie. Obviously, Sir Anthony Hopkins, who I already brought up.
Yes.
And also Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone, really?
Yes, I would kill to work with either of these people.
Oh, wow.
Why
Sean Connery, too. Oh, my God. James Bond, Jesus.
Oh,
I just said Roger Moore just passed away, as
I
I noticed a couple of days ago.
Oh, my God, I loved it. Oh, and you saw Dina Merrill just passed away, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I worked with her. You have the book. You have the picture of her and everything in the book.
Yes.
Dina Merrill, who was the huge Post heiress of the Post fortune and changed her name to Merrill because her parents were like, you can't be an actress with the Posts. She became Merrill, and she wound up working extensively as an actress, as a big star, and she was in the really terrible movie I made called Throw Out the Anchor.
Oh.
A completely silly movie. And this whole chapter on the book, it was like worst movie ever made. But Dina Merrill was in it with Richard Egan, and she was amazing, and she's the one, that whole crazy story in the book about the possum, she's the one who found the possum.
Oh, okay.
She found the possum?
She's the one who found the possum on the way to work and said, hey, there's a possum in the thing here, Alison. My mother's like, great, you're giving my daughter a wild animal.
Egbert,
rabies.
Right, or something, right? Egbert? Or
Egbert Cream.
Yeah.
Which is an even more long, convoluted story, but there you go. But yeah, the possum wound up living with us in the hotel.
Okay, Alison, we have a phone call here.
We have a call!
Go ahead, sir. You're on the air.
Yeah. A lot of times I hear stories about how Sean Penn, they couldn't figure out how he got in Hollywood. And then I looked it up, and, his father was in the business, and all the kids were all in the business, So,
oh, yeah, huge.
It's hard to describe that to anybody. I said that man was born an artist just like his father. I mean, when you're raised like that, that's the way it ends up. So. Oh, yeah, Leo Penn was a major director. He was very, very big. So, came out of the actor's studio. I mean, so he was hugely famous. But after Past Times at Ridgemont High, you get people saying, boy, that's an actor? But he was good at what he did. Right, they think that's real. But that's not, that's the thing, that's not who he was. I mean, he wasn't a drooling guy or to the class. That man's a great actor. But it was such a transformation, people were convinced that's who he was. Yeah, and when his brother died, that was a tough one. He was he was kind of talented, too, for what he did. No, it was a very talented family. I mean, if you watch that episode, Tinker Jones, his dad directed, it's a favorite episode with people. Yeah. Thank you. I will check that out. This is a really good interview. Thank you. It's nice talking to you. Thanks. Okay.
Appreciate that. Thank you. 687-3515. And
for the record, Sean Penn was very well behaved on the set and didn't punch anyone. Just saying.
Okay, good. That is very good. And, there's one other person. I mean, there's a lot of people. But there's another actor on there that doesn't get enough publicity, Emmett Walsh. Emmett, I can just barely hear you. Is the channel that you were speaking into available on my phone? Because I can now hear her. How about M? Oh, there you are. There I am. Hey, ho. Emmett Walsh. He was in a number of movies, including Back to School. He was in The Jerk. It says right here he was in Episode 8, Season 8. Oh my God, he was in everything. I'm looking too. Oh my God, and working like a fiend. Tim and Eric's Bedtime Stories and everything. Still working. Yes, yeah, he is. Yeah, Emmett Walsh is still gainfully employed as we speak. He is still cranking it out. What has he been on? He's got stuff in pre-production right now and post-production. He's working that much.
He's been on absolutely everything. Which episode of Little House did he do? Season 8. Now, because I wasn't there. I did 1 through 7.
Okay.
And then I came back for season 9, which was totally crazy. So I'm like sitting here, dum, 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 dum. Which episode? He did was on Bonanza. So, of course, he wound up on Little House because he would have met Michael on Bonanza. And half of people in Little House were people who were on Bonanza.
Oh.
Yeah. He's 82 years old right now. Michael
I'm cranking it out. He is working more than any of us, apparently. I'm looking at his IMDb. He's working now. He's got like 3 movies in post-production.
Yeah. He was, I loved his role in The Jerk. He was the gas station. He was shooting the oil cans in that movie. He quit smoking and then he was...
Oh, you know what episode he's in? Oh, my God. It's the one where John Jr. is dead.
Oh, okay.
Mary's boyfriend, before she went blind, John Jr., right, played by Rodimus Parra, who I was just, again, emailing with. Rodimus has moved to France. Rodimus married a gorgeous French woman, and they have a baby, and they have moved to France.
Wow.
And they're the cutest thing, and they just moved to France. Rodimus talks about how, when he was on Little House, he was like, okay, I'm done now. I'm going to go to New York and study acting, and then I'll come back to L.A., and he'd stayed very friendly with Michael and with Victor French. So Victor went off to do another show. Michael was sort of mad, so then the Edwards family wasn't in it. But then he came back, and they made up, and so he's bringing the character. So he brings back Mr. Edwards, and by this time they figured, well, Rodimus isn't coming back, so they killed off his character.
No.
Young newspaper reporter John Jr. dies in what seems to be a tragic streetcar accident. And then it turns out he was publishing a story about business corruption. He may have been murdered. I think there was found it. Great plot line. But it meant that they killed him. So he wasn't there. So they went, well, we'll just kill him. We'll have some guy under a sheet. Oh, my God, we find him murdered, and this will be a great plot. Meanwhile, Rodimus is in New York going, I think I'll go back to L.A., and I know that they know I'm a good actor and that Michael and Victor and everybody still love me, and I've been studying. I'll come back, and maybe I'll get a gig. So he comes back, and he swings by the set, and they're like, yeah, come on by. And he has no idea, and he shows up. The day he shows up to visit the set to see Michael and Victor, they're pulling a sheet over his dead body, over his face.
Oh, no!
Wow.
He arrived in time to see, he goes, what's that? Oh, sorry, that would be you. We just killed your character. We're loading him into the morgue van now in front of you. He arrived in time to see an actor play him dead with a sheet over his face.
Wow.
He said, boy, that really brought it home. This is Hollywood. Ta-da! Yeah, come back to L.A., and they're pulling a sheet over your face.
And I'm curious about you talking about Sean Penn's father being a really big deal with him directing. You wrote in the book about, I don't remember the director's name, I think it was French, and that Michael had a fit because it had to do with
the
you
poor
and the
guy
Greek.
who directed Town Party, Country Party.
Yeah.
He was Swedish dude.
Oh, Swedish, okay.
Which made sense, because Town Party, Country Party had Olga, and the Swedish, there's some kind of theme going on there. But indeed, the poor guy come in to direct this episode, Town Party, Country Party, and at that time we hadn't realized, because we'd only a couple episodes in, that Michael was probably going to wind up directing most of the shows. And that was the thing, is William Claxton was another great director. We had a lot of time. But Claxton would also let Michael step in if he wanted to direct a scene in the middle of his directing. He didn't care. And Victor French, he would let him direct, because they could kind of co-direct. So Michael directed all the time, and he'd let Victor direct, and he'd let Claxton direct. But this guy, and obviously Leo Penn was respectable enough, he let him direct. But this guy came on, and Michael starts doing the scene. We shot the scene with me, the whole thing. And the guy came and said, what are you doing? Wait, I'm directing. And Michael got in this fight with him, and he didn't like how he was directing. The guy said, why are you doing this scene? I'm directing this episode. Michael's like, yeah, well, if you were doing a better job, I probably wouldn't be taking over for you. And it got ugly. And he wound up firing him. Or so I said it was kind of one of those, you can't fire me, I quit, you can't quit, you're fired scenes.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there, I'm 12. These two guys are yelling at each other over my head, having a fight about this. And he walks off the set, and his family, the day his wife and kids were visiting, they'll have the pile in the car, bye, and leave. And it was massively embarrassing. But and then Michael turns and looks at me and goes, what are you looking at? I'm like, nothing. Get back in the water. Yeah, okay, yeah, I better not say. If you're wondering as a child actor, gee, how secure is my job here? Could they fire me? He just fired the director. He just fired the freaking director in front of me. I guess he can fire anybody he wants.
Yes, I
Well, you could always use the wild turkey as blackmail.
Right, or you could say, I just saw you suck down 8 ounces of wild turkey in the truck, right? Yeah, there is that.
Before 10 in the morning.
You were listening to WCSB Cleveland. It is 12:04. Alison, it's so great to have you on the show. We really appreciate your time. And there's many people that didn't want to talk to you on the air because they're a little nervous, but the sentiment that I'm getting...
They're afraid. They're all terrified. That's why I have to give them index cards at my show. They're much too afraid to raise their hands.
But they all love your show, and they all love you. And you're a great guest. And it's just very entertaining. Tell them to go to bonnetheads.com. Come to my website, bonnetheads.com.
We will.
Yes.
All right.
I already
Alison, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
I wish you the best, and thanks for being on the Ray Carr Show on WCSB Cleveland. You have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Alison Arngrim.